we go. Thanks everybody for coming today. For those of you who were in yesterday's training, there is going to be some information that's repeated, but what we're doing here today is looking at the finance role. I know that when I sent out the original invitation, it said administrator, but that's not accurate. There's a new role in Amazon that's called finance. And what that gives you the ability to do is see all the orders for your group and be able to extract information about that, whether you need it for budgeting or to see what you have needed or anything like that. So what we're going to do today is focus on the finance role and some overview of different things, but you're going to get more information about how you can run those reports that we mentioned yesterday and what kind of information is available to you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anthony for a minute and we'll get going.
Wonderful. And thanks, Nick, for having me here. I know that yesterday some of you joined me, and for those of you who are here for the first time, thanks for coming in. Nick and I have worked together over the past month or two with setting up the City of Plano account. And you've been invited to this training today to dive a little bit deeper into the finance role and to understand how to access reports primarily, but we'll also give an overview on some of the other benefits and features of Amazon Business just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Nick, did you want to speak to any of the City of Plano goals prior to us jumping into the reporting?
I guess I might as well. Just to review, these are the goals and expectations that we have of the users of the Amazon account. So one of the things that we're going to be getting out of this is efficiency. This is an easy place for you to be able to look for an item and compare prices among different vendors who offer the same thing. You can also use it in some ways to compare prices to if you have a contract for something and you think you're getting charged too much, or whether you want to see them. This is good for market research when you're starting to look for something, if you need to do a budget. So this is an easy place to either get that kind of information. The other thing we're expecting to see is savings. Among other things, we get business prices from Amazon, which are better than the regular market prices. And we have seen that they have something called progressive discounts, where when you buy the same thing in volume or repetitively over the course of a 12-month period, the discount on that item will go up. So yesterday I told you about a folder that we've been buying that on Office Depot was $31, and we started out on Amazon at $21 a box. And yesterday I told you that we were down to $12 and change. Today the price has dropped to $9.92, and that's because of the volume we've been buying. So one of the things you're going to get is the benefit of other departments buying something that you might not even know about, but if you use the same items, you're going to get a discount for that too. Our expectations are that all purchases made through Amazon are in compliance with the procurement card policy, which is policy 330.002. If you don't have a P card, you may not have reviewed that, so make sure you look under policies and procedures and read that, just so you know what the requirements are. And then we ask, if you find that you do have something on a contract and you're buying it from Amazon because the price is better on Amazon, let your buying team know so we can review our contracts and see what's appropriate to do. Back to you, Anthony.
All right, thanks for that review, Nick. And as just a reminder, any questions that you have that are internal facing for our City of Plano policies, like Nick just covered, please direct those to her. And then anything that's Amazon business related, you can certainly reach out and let us know here at Amazon, and we can help out. And we will field some Q&A here at the end of this call. There's also a chat feature in the Chime window that you should be able to see. Feel free to type your questions in there, and Nick and I will either type responses or circle back and cover those for everybody. So we'll quickly get to the reporting, but the first thing that I want to touch on is just some of the key differences with Amazon Business. There is specific business pricing, quantity discounts, progressive discounts, like Nick just mentioned, that set it apart from the consumer site of Amazon that you may be familiar with already. This account does also have Business Prime, which is very similar to the Prime you may have on a home account, in that you get fast free shipping. But there's some other things that are included and aren't included, like streaming video services and music are not included. But you do have the ability, or at least administrators at the top level like Nick, to set some buying policies and approvals and really robust analytics, which is what we're going to spend most of our time jumping into today. So moving along here with the business account navigation, I thought it would be helpful to just touch on a couple of the different user roles and permissions. Nick is an administrator on this account. I don't have that roll up here, but that just allows her to add and remove people and to view all of the reports. It's kind of a master role. Requisitioners on the account, if that's your only role, you're able to place orders, and you can actually be an approver as well if you're a requisitioner, but that needs to be assigned by an administrator. And you'll see all your order history for yourself, but not for other people. Now, finance role, you'll have access to all of the invoices, credit notes, analytics, order history, all of that information for whatever group you're in the finance role over. So if you're at the top level in a finance role, you would see everything on the account. If you were in a subgroup or a department or a division, then you would just see the activity in that group. And these roles will be designated or already have been designated by Nick and her team as administrators. So if you have questions about who is being assigned those roles and why, that would be a question for Nick. But the fact that you're on this call and you've been invited is a good indicator that you are privy to this finance role information. So we will jump into how to navigate this account based on your role and what you can see when you get to the reporting. So in the account, this is a screenshot from a demo account, but when you first log in, you'll see this dark blue color scheme, and in the top left, it'll say business, or in your case, business prime. And then in the top right, it'll say, hello, your name, account for City of Plano. And when you go to the drop-down menu, you'll see your account, business settings, orders. The most important thing here in the finance role is likely going to be the business analytics section that you see there. So hopefully you've already had the chance to get into your account and maybe click around a little bit. If you haven't already, I'd encourage you to do that today, is to make sure that you can log in and go to that business analytics section, make sure that you can see it, and that you can look up some of the reports that I'm about to show you. So that's how to navigate to the business analytics and to get around in your account. This account has been set up with some unique and specific business order fields that are required by the City of Plano. So we put these in here. One is the cost center, where you can enter a 3-digit department code, and the other is the object account, which is a 4-digit code. Now, Nick spoke yesterday to this, that these codes are the same ones used to reconcile P-card statements or to place orders in JD Edwards. And these are things that you will have visibility into in the business analytics. So it's important that you're familiar with these and where to look for them and how to find them. So I will move on now and jump into a couple of the reports before I get into the analytics. One other thing that I think is important for you to see is this related offers report. If it's important to you, the system can be set up to capture other similar offers at the time of purchase for a specific item. For example, Nick mentioned a folder earlier. If you bought that folder for X amount of dollars and you had, and it triggered this threshold. So in this case, in the screenshot, it's $3,499. Probably not going to trigger that with a folder, but if that was set to $5 or $10, if that threshold is triggered, then the system would also say, what were the next 3 closest prices to that on that folder that you purchased? This can be helpful for historical purchases to show that the purchase was made in a competitive environment. Many people don't set the threshold very low because they don't have the 3 bids requirement or whatever it might be. But it can be very, very beneficial for you to have access to that information to see what else was available on the site at that time of purchase. So that's the related offers report. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I'm not going to dive too deeply into that, but if there are questions at the end, we can certainly circle back and I can show you. I did see a question pop up saying that Nick may be offline now. Nick, can you confirm that you can hear us? Okay. We may have lost Nick. We are recording this, so anyone that has uh, needs access to this later, including those who are with Nick or may not be able to see this, we can certainly circle back. So thank you, Greg, for bringing that to my attention. But the rest of you that are on here, um, please continue to stay on. Again, we'll record this and distribute this to everybody. The next thing I want to touch on here is the business analytics, which is really the meat of what we're doing today. So in business analytics from that drop down, you have access to over 60 data fields on every single purchase. If you think about P-card purchases in the past and you get your bank statement, there's not a lot of information on there for an Amazon purchase. It might say Amazon.com for $60 and you know who spent the money, but you don't necessarily have the ship to address, the breakdown of tax and shipping, or who the third party seller was, or what the manufacturing part number was, or any of that. Now you have access to all of that in analytics, and you have access to it not just for you, but for everyone in the group that you're a finance role over. So when you go to business analytics, you'll see these out of the box reports right here. I touched on related offers just now, but there's also a refunds report, a returns report, a reconciliation report, and then an orders report. Most of the customers that I work with find the orders report to be the most helpful because it's very comprehensive and includes a lot of the same information that's found in these other ones. Another nice thing to point out is that you can actually download a comma separated value or a CSV file that you can open up in Excel or another spreadsheet program. So jumping in and showing you what the actual user experience is like, here's a screenshot of the reconciliation report where you can see payment reference IDs, what type of charge it was, what account group these people were in, what the transaction date was, and many more. You can actually change the time period here from month to date or a fiscal year or quarter to date, or even just today if you want to. You can also filter things by group. Maybe you only wanted to see, in this example, the Eastern region. You could filter out everything else and just look at that. So it can be very helpful. And then in the top right, it's cut off on the screen here. There would be a yellowish orangish button that says export to CSV. So I actually wanted to pull up your account and show you what this would look like. This is an actual City of Plano account right here. So when you log in, you'll see Business Prime in the top left, and you will also see hello and then your name, account for City of Plano. Just because we did lose Nick earlier, could someone please type in the chat window and let me know if you are able to see my screen still with the web browser that's up? Okay, perfect. Thank you for confirming. So you can see these are my options here, and business analytics is where we're going to go right now. So when I click on business analytics, this should look familiar to you based on that screenshot I just shared with you. Related offers, returns, reconciliation, refunds. There's a quick snapshot over here, month to date, of what we spent last month, what you spent this month, what the top category is so far, and what it was last month. For the record, CE is consumer electronics. So let's hop into the orders field here, and hopefully this will populate. There we go. So I'll just take you through a few steps here, and then we can open it up to some questions on this. So time period here, month to date, maybe that's sufficient for you, maybe not. The neat thing is, even though this is a new account, if, let's say, George got invited to join the City of Plano account, but he already had been using Amazon for work for the last 3 years, he could bring over his order history. So you can actually, even though this is a new account, see order history way back as far as anyone's brought it over. You can filter here by different account groups, PO number, seller credentials. You might just want to look at any purchases from small businesses. Really neat information in here. One weakness that I will point out is in the web view, there's so many data fields that you do have to scroll over. So don't forget to do that. And for that reason, a lot of people like to just download it, export it to Excel, and use it that way and run reports. But if you want to use it here, just know that it doesn't stop at the right-hand edge. You can scroll over. So I'll just walk through not every single one of these columns, but just to give you an overview of what's in there. So you've got the order date, the order ID. The nice thing about this is even if it's not your order, you can actually click on these and it will reproduce the invoice that was emailed to the person who created the order. And you can see very quickly, are they paying for shipping? Are they paying for tax? Where are they shipping to? And so on. Nick, it sounds like you just rejoined. Okay, we'll continue moving forward. So the order ID and recreating the invoices can be very helpful. You'll also see which account group they're a part of, which is nice for running reports. Again, I could filter out and say, just show me police, just show me library, whatever it might be. PO number may not be applicable in this instance, so it'll just be blank. Order quantities, all the order totals there. On this account, it is tax exempt for orders shipped to the state of Texas. If you're shipping outside of the state of Texas, then applicable taxes may apply. So you can look at all that information in here. You can also see if they're spending money on shipping. This has Business Prime, so shipping for the most part should be free. But there are some items that are not Prime eligible from third-party sellers, and it may be an instruction to your end users to let them know to use Prime eligible items so they don't have to pay for shipping. You'll also see the order status, if it's pending approval, if it's pending fulfillment. So this one was already approved by Sharon. Lindsay requested it, Sharon approved it. Pamela requested this one, someone still needs to approve it. And then so on. You can see the paper trail here of who requested it, who approved it, and then what the status is. On some of these ones that have already been shipped, you'll see that they've already been charged. So the ones that haven't shipped yet aren't charged yet, but the ones that have shipped, they do get charged, and it should be MasterCard for the payment method. And you can see the payment identifier, which is the last 4 digits for the shared payment card. If you can run reports to see if there's anything other than a MasterCard in there, to see if there's any issues with people using cards that they shouldn't. Nick and I have worked to get this locked down, so they shouldn't be able to add any additional cards, but you can run reports that way to see. You'll also see the shipping status. If it's shipping soon, it won't have all of the information in there, like a carrier tracking number. But if it has shipped, then you'll see that in there. And you'll see the shipping address. If you hover over any of these, you can see exactly where it's being shipped to. And then you can also see who the carrier is here, whether it's UPS. If it's UPS, then you need to go to UPS for that tracking number. If it's Amazon Logistics, that means it's being fulfilled by Amazon Logistics and not one of the major carriers. So some of those vans with the Amazon Smile on the side that you may have seen around, that's how those ones are being fulfilled. And then you can see product category, musical instruments, office products. You'll see a little bit of everything. The title, most of the time, is very instructive, but if you need pictures, you can hover over this and see exactly what was purchased. The UNSPSC codes are available as well. Some of these have brand codes, brands, manufacturers, stock numbers, item numbers. Really, probably more information than you would ever need, but it's there for you if you'd like to look at it. The product condition, and so on. And I'm going to scroll all the way over here now and show you the last few columns that may be of interest to you. Here you can see, and this is actually a good example, I was hoping we'd see something like this, the seller name. About half of the things sold on Amazon are actually sold by Amazon, and the other half from third-party sellers. So you'll see, Office World Store, Rubber Stamp Creation, all sorts of different companies here. And you'll see the seller address as well to see, is this a Texas company? Is it a Oregon company? Is it an international company? You'll be able to see all of that information. And probably my favorite feature is that we actually allow our third-party sellers to upload credentials if they have them, such as minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, small business, those types of credentials. And those will show up in here that you can actually report out on. Even though the dollars are being spent on Amazon, you can see that they're actually going to a third-party seller that has those types of credentials. So this is just a high-level overview of the business analytics, and you can actually go in and adjust things. And you might say, I don't want to see the seller information or the invoice information or whatever it might be. And then you could submit that and save it. Once you've created it exactly the way that you want based on a time period and filters and columns, you can go in and actually save a template here and call it whatever you'd like. It might be, month to date report for management, or whatever you're using on a regular basis. You can go ahead and create that. So I know we've covered a lot here with the business analytics and specifically the order report. So I want to pause and see if there are any questions. You can unmute yourself or type it in the chat window if there's any questions on the finance role and the reporting of what you'll see here before I step along to a couple of other slides to wrap up. And Nick, any questions in person there that I may not be hearing? You'll need to unmute if there are.
Not so far.
Okay, great. Well, let me hop back into the slide presentation here. Many people ask about this because they are used to using Amazon at home. The regular comfortable your orders section that you're already familiar with is still available. You don't have to dive into the analytics. So they can still see the orders this way. That this will look very familiar to anyone who's shopped at home on Amazon, where you can track orders this way. And this works for individual users. Again, in a finance role, viewing multiple users' information, business analytics is going to be far superior with the the information that it provides to you. Moving along here, I did want to bring something to your attention as a finance role or anyone on this account. If you do run into Amazon-specific issues, we have a great customer support team. At the bottom of any page, in fact, I can pull this back up here. If I scroll down, you'll see this here, this Let Us Help You section. If you click Contact Us, it will take you right to a page where you can kind of triage your issue and say, this is an issue with an order I've placed or something else, a non-order related issue. And then you can go through this, and then it will give you an option to chat or to call or to connect with a customer service agent that way. This is the preferred method to reach out to customer service rather than just picking up the phone, because you're already logged in and the customer service agent won't have to validate who you are. You're already on the account, and then they can work with you that way. And again, you can still speak to them on the phone. It'll just help triage it and get it to the right place first. So please use customer support as often as needed. I also want to call attention to this business FAQ and help section. The best thing to do is to self-service your issues first in these two sections if you've got questions, and then reach out to customer service. If for whatever reason you still don't have your issues resolved, feel free to reach out to Nick, who can connect to myself or Tanya San Miguel Bounds, who is the customer advisor on this account, and we'll definitely make sure to escalate your issues and get those resolved. And then finally here, just wanted to show you a few different resources. If there's any issues with tax exemptions, those are here. Or the way to resolve that is listed here. Prime memberships are not needed on this account because that's been taken care of at the top level. So you may have people that come to you with questions about that. So those are not needed here. Again, a reference up to the customer support. And then finally, some of the resources that are available here is just understanding some of the ins and outs of how this account works, specifically with the analytics. Some of these are more admin focused for Nick, but this just gives you a whole view of some of the resources that are available and some of the links online. These just link directly to those help pages and business FAQ pages that are at the footer of every page as well. So you should have all the resources available to you to help you feel successful and be able to jump into this when needed. So with that, I'll just one last time ask if there's any other questions for me specifically. Please put those in the chat window or unmute yourself and ask the question. And if there aren't any questions for me, then I will turn it right back over to you, Nick.
Yeah, there are no questions here, Anthony. If anybody does come up with questions after the fact, definitely email them to me and I will get you an answer and share them with everybody. We will have a recording of this session available, and I will be posting that online. I'm not sure where yet, but I'll be figuring that out shortly, and I'll let everybody know where it's available. And if you have any internal questions about procedures or usage, you can contact me and I'll help you out with that. So that's all I've got. Thank you, Anthony, for doing the presentation. It was really great.
Thanks, Nick, and thanks everyone for participating. Take care.
Bye.